So, Laurie, thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Let me start asking you about your background. We are just chatting before start how many years you are involved, but you are just 21. So, for how long you are involved in what we call creator economy, influencer economy?
So I started social media when I was 13, and it became a full-time job very quickly. And I've been doing it for the past 8 years. Now I'm 21.
And how do you feel the pressure? I have a lot of friends that are influencers, and sometimes we are just having lunch and they say, Marcelo, I can't just stay away from my phone because like if I stay 1 hour, 2 hours from my phone, let's see how many notifications that I have, like my audience, my community are asking for more. How you deal mentally with the obligation that most of influencers and content creators have to always sharing their lives all the time?
I think for me, it's been about finding that balance. And I've had moments definitely throughout my entire career where I felt burnout, which is something that a lot of creators talk about. So I think it's finding that balance between keeping parts of your life private and knowing when to put the phone away, and I guess being selective with what the world gets to see, because it's very easy to give all of yourself to the whole world and spread yourself so thin. So I think finding that balance has been really important for me.
And what is the recipe? So like for another people that are just listening and watching to us, to find the balance, what is your recipe? What is your technique to find the right balance between your private life and your public life?
I think I like to, if I'm at dinner with my friends or I'm out with my family, I put my phone away. Or if I'm doing something really fun and exciting, I will film it. So it just depends. I think that there are moments that I like to keep special in between me and whoever I'm experiencing with, whether that be a dinner with my friend or a dinner with my parents or watching a movie. But I think that there are also some really fun things that I get to do in my life because of social media. And I like to, obviously post those.
Yeah, and connecting this with like your community, how you deal with like comments and the way that people engage. We know that it's impossible today to create a content that everybody loves and everybody agree. How you learn during all this time to deal with haters and all this hating that happens on social media?
I mean, it's kind of bound to happen, especially when you put yourself in front of so many people. But I don't know. I feel like I've learned the difference between when someone's just hating to hate versus when something's constructive, because I do think there's room for constructive criticism and we can all learn from each other. But I've gotten pretty good at differentiating the two.
Did you read everything? So what is because like you have like too many people that are following you, there's a flood of content and comments. How do you filter about like what is worth it to you spend time to reading on comments and what is not worth it? Do you have any formula to that?
I don't think there's any specific format. I read as many comments as I can, and I try to keep up with my fans and interact with them as best as I can. But the message for me is always positive. So I try to give the most attention to the positive comments. And of course, I'm always there to take in constructive feedback in a polite way. But I just do my best to focus on the positive.
That's great. And when you start creating content, you be yourself, and then you attract some brands. I imagine some companies that want to attach their strategy or their business with your image and your content. During all your career until now, what is your approach to brands? How you are working in partnership with brands, and how you can explain, because you see this marketing is evolving as well, from a more transactional base, like I pay for you and you do a post, and sometimes your audience see this like as an ad, that it's not you yourself. And then we see a lot of creators right now, they're doing more long-term partnerships, they're co-creating brands. So for you, what's working, what's not working when you're talking about your relationship to monetize your content?
I think the partnerships that have always worked best for me are collaborative partnerships where it's a brand that aligns with my personal brand. It might be a product that I'm already using or something that I would use. I would never, for example, trying to think of an example of something that I don't use, but it's really hard right now. But I wouldn't take a brand partnership with something that that wouldn't fit into my sort of box, and
to feel authentic.
Right.
It's you.
Right, and my fans know me, they know who I am, and I would never want to sell them something that didn't make sense or give them recommendations that aren't good. So I think it's finding that authentic sort of those serendipitous collaborations where they're willing to co-collaborate on the strategy, on the rollout, on the tone, the script, on the content. I think those are the partnerships that work the best for me.
Do you have an example or recent or more old example? What is the best example that you can share about like a brand that approach you in the right way, is authentic and generates sales to them? It's happy. It's worked best for your audience. What example you can share?
So I have a collaboration with a brand called VI's Beauty coming out, and they do eyelash extensions that have gone so viral on TikTok. And I was already using the product.
Okay.
So
they approach you because they see?
No, they approached me, but I responded because I had already been using the product. And they worked with me to come up with content that makes sense for both of us, that's going to increase their sales while also remaining authentic to myself and my audience. So I think those brand partnerships are the best because, when a company is willing to be collaborative, it benefits both parties so much more.
Do you have any plans to create your own brand, like a person, more something that is more you participate in the product creation and have your name on that? Do you see this path as well for you?
Absolutely. I think the older and more experienced that I am, the more means I have to go into that sort of business. I would always want to collaborate with people who know more than I do. It's hard to do everything on your own. But I think, being here at Web Summit and learning from so many amazing entrepreneurs has been so beneficial. And I'm definitely interested in a lot of different avenues in the business space.
That's great. And we see that like platforms have different aspects as well. So like we see creators on Instagram versus TikTok with completely different approach because the platforms are different. For you, in your case, do you see these? So which platforms are your most important platforms and how you deal with the differences between the nature of each platforms?
So all platforms serve their own individual purpose. So YouTube is great for long form content. TikTok is great for short form content. Twitter is great when you just have to get a message out there. Snapchat is really great on a connective level with the audience. So I think they all serve their own individual purposes, but there also are apps that are similar, like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Spotlight, the list goes on, Reels. And I think a lot of that content at times can be syndicated. So you can take content from one platform, translate it to another. And that's been really beneficial for me because it's impossible for one person to create original content every day for all of these platforms.
Do you have a main platform today?
I would say my main platform is TikTok, Instagram, X, and Snapchat. Those are sort of, but there's
four.
That's four. But there's
It's a lot.
It would be TikTok, but like I said, each one serves its own purpose for me. So I think it's hard for one to exist sort of without the other, and it creates this really beautiful, I guess, sort of community, and you're picking up different bits and pieces from different platforms. So yeah, I think they all sort of have their own.
And I know that you are entering the music career right now. So can you share with us a little bit about what is your career moment and what is your next step? So what is ahead? What you are planning now?
So my goal with music has always been to build it up the same way that I built my social media career, with consistency, authenticity, and writing music that connects with people. So I just released my debut album in April. It's called Guilty. And that was such a great starting point for what's to come. I'm looking forward to writing new music in the new year. And I have some acting projects that are coming out. So there's a lot of amazing things coming, and I'm just taking them as they come.
And how do you see the Brazilian audience? So have you been to Brazil? How do you know anything about the Brazilians? Do you see Brazilians in your audiences? So as we are talking to a Brazilian audience, what do you see as what is your connection and what is your relation with the Brazil?
So I definitely have a presence in Brazil. I've never been, but I would love to. And I always get comments, come to Brazil, come to Brazil.
In Portuguese?
I don't know. They'll say it in English. But I've seen it in my comment sections and in my DMs. So I definitely need to come visit.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.